This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather. It's Jeff Cutter. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this date, and this is the only video I will be doing for today, July the 21st. So, July 21st, 1996 was when Wayne Gretzky became a New York Ranger. Be thinking, hang on a minute, why is this so big? Well, I'm doing this for two reasons. A is because of the fact that, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, I'm basically getting a little, it's a bit of rage for me to talk about this. And B, it's to basically try to talk to the people for Blue Shirt Underground Radio because, they're New York Ranger fans and all that. So anyway, the Rangers were 2 years removed from their Stanley Cup win, which was groundbreaking and, controversial because of the relationship between Neil Smith and Michael Keenan. So the simple fact is that the Rangers were looking for someone to be a good centerman. They had a few big problems with their roster, but they knew something was up. Meanwhile, in St. Louis, Wayne Gretzky was ready to test free agency for the first time. And you're thinking, wait a minute, Wayne Gretzky, free agent? Wait a minute, Wayne Gretzky at St. Louis Blue? How did that happen? Well, Los Angeles decided to trade Gretzky to a playoff contender. So they traded him to St. Louis for him to join Brett Hall and basically trying to help St. Louis out in the playoffs. Thankfully, though, they did well. St. Louis faced Toronto in the first round of the playoffs, and Gretzky, as usual, always took Toronto a bit hard at Maple Gardens. The Blues won in 6 games. And then the Blues would take on the Detroit Red Wings in the conference semis. And in a tight 7-game series, even though Detroit had 62 regular season wins, St. Louis forced Detroit to Game 7 at the Joe. And it was a goalie duel between John Casey and Chris Osgood. However, Steve Yzerman blasted a 60-foot shot over Casey's shoulder, and the Red Wings win in double overtime, sending the Blues home. What's worse was that Wayne Gretzky technically was the GOAT because he had the puck on a stick in the offensive zone, and he made a bad pass. And that's when Yzerman got the puck and slapped it over Casey's shoulder. So the Blues were ruined. Hall and Gretzky. It was like, well, St. Louis will have to do better. But Gretzky was going to test free agency, and St. Louis was powerless to stop him. So the question on everyone's lips was, where would Wayne Gretzky, the greatest player of the game, go? Some say he might go to Canada. Some say he might go to Western United States. Some say he might go to Eastern United States. Who cares? Well, Gretzky fans do. Anyway, Wayne Gretzky was Wayne Gretzky. And Vancouver actually had a golden chance to get him. It would have been nice to see Gretzky with Pavel Bure and Trevor Linden. And all that. But unfortunately, talks broke down between Gretzky and the Vancouver camp. So his next best option was Toronto, and everyone was happy and all that. The Toronto Maple Leafs may get Wayne Gretzky. Now, I would like to interject with a book reading. If I can find my book. I have to find the specific book. Yeah, I have to find the specific book. Because that book actually does tell of the big moment that I'm trying to get at. Aha! Here we go. Obviously, I'm doing this by podcast style, so you don't see, but. Yeah. See here. So, yeah. All right, here we go. from the book Why the Leafs Suck and How They Can Be Fixed. I know it's a 2009 book, but it's still the same philosophy nowadays. From page 86, I read this. Gretzky says, there were 4 deals I could have had. Bob Gainey from the Dallas Stars, the second offer from Vancouver, and the third offer from Toronto, and the fourth offer from New York. Well, I really want to go to Toronto. We called Cliff and asked if he was interested. He said he was, but if I was looking for big money, it wasn't going to happen. The owner was trying to save money to put it towards a new arena. So I just said, just put together a reasonable offer and we'll see what we can do. He came back with a deal for $3 million a year with some money deferred. I said, okay, we like that. Toronto was my first choice. That's where I wanted to go. But Cliff came back and said he took it to the owner, and the owner nixed it. The New York Rangers offer came the next day, so I went to New York. Of course, Fletcher, with the Gretzky contract sealed and delivered, but not signed, took the proposition to Stavro for what he thought would be a rubber stamp approval. Wayne Gretzky, a living legend, was to end as a Maple Leaf. Screw it. Stavro's response was telling. How many seats will that sell? Of course, the answer was it wouldn't sell any. Even in the woeful days of the Harold Ballard era, Maple Leaf Gardens was always sold out. The Gretzky deal with Speedo and the greatest player of his day went to the Rangers for an annual salary of $6.25 million. $6.25 million. $6.25 million. Well, okay, fine, but the Leafs could have had him for $3 million, and the owner said no. Steve Stavro said no. Unfortunately, Steve Stavro was just as greedy as Harold Ballard. He managed to steal the team from the charitable trust that Ballard set up when he died. He was right when he said they wouldn't sell any seats, but what if it could sell seats at the new Leafs arena? And of course, that was a few years away from being built. So basically, Gretzky took the Rangers deal and never looked back. And Leaf fans were pissed off because they could have had a decent center alongside Matt Sundin and even Dougie Gilmour, who was still on the team. It would have been nice to see Gretzky in a Leaf uniform, but Stavro basically was being a selfish prick, as we all figured he would be. Anyway, the Leafs would actually falter in the 96-97 season, and at that time they decided to trade Gilmour to the New Jersey Devils. Kind of stupid, don't you think? Of course, Gretzky would play 3 years with the Rangers. In his first year, he helped the Rangers get to the conference finals and almost get to the Stanley Cup finals, but they lost to the Flyers in 5 games. 5 or 6, I can't remember. I think it was 5. Anyway, the New York Rangers had Messier and Gretzky, which was great. Unfortunately, though, it wouldn't last, as Messier fell to Vancouver. Went to Vancouver, the place where Gretzky could have been, but Vancouver fumbled it. So Messier decided to go to Vancouver, become a prick, ask for the number 11, even though that it was retired from Wayne Mackey, who was a popular early Canucks player who had brain cancer and died in 1974. He got the number, but he was a prick about it and was named captain. Needless to say, Messier's time as a Vancouver Canuck was not that great, and he came back to the Rangers in 2000, buried a literal hatchet at a press conference, and his final 6 years were spent with the New York Rangers, as it should be. I mean, Messier is a New York Rangers legend. So, anyway, Gretzky would be the only prime player for the Rangers, and that was when the Rangers started their consecutive seasons drought in the playoffs, not making the playoffs again till 2006 when it was after the strike. So the Rangers were buying all these free agents with money and all that, but they still couldn't get to the playoffs even. That was not too good. But anyway, yeah, Gretzky is a New York Ranger. Who would have thought? I mean, good for the Rangers. He went to an original 16. But still, I mean, Leafs, damn it. Well, this calls for a reboot of Leafs Crisis. Does it? Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.